I am so proud, not one person from our team has refused. Our entire teams are working. There are 6 of these centers operating. They are right there. They feel they are doing their bit for society. They're doing their bit to help the company survive these tough times. Till the pandemic, I started this maybe 6, 7 years back. The business was a failure. And I was on the verge of actually giving up and saying, I think the country is not ready for this yet, and it was too early. If you're an entrepreneur, your suppliers are your bosses, the customers are your bosses, the government is your bosses, everybody is your boss, but it's the most exciting space to be. We have a lot of expats who stay with us. If we can provide them a great experience, I think it improves the image they have of our country.
For the future generation, we are going to do a big deal of favor.
I have traveled to more than 20 countries across 4 continents in the world.
Hello everybody, welcome to Entrepreneurship Simplified, and this show is going to introduce you to those brilliant ideas and the biggest entrepreneurs who will help you to simplify entrepreneurship through their real life situations, challenges, failures and successes, so that you don't need to repeat the same mistakes, rather focus on your growth to realize your dream of becoming an entrepreneur much faster. This show is being done in association with Young Indians. Young Indians is a movement for Indian youth to converge, lead, co-create and influence India's future. YI is playing a proactive role in India's development process. If you want to take part of India's growth and be successful, YI is the place to be. Bear in mind, this show has no script. Everything you hear on the show is heart-to-heart with real-life experiences. And today's guest is a seasoned entrepreneur from Delhi who moved from a corporate career in Accenture to his family business in 2002. He then diversified the family business of providing corporate housing into property management, deep cleaning, and repair and maintenance. Currently, they manage more than 400 properties having 500,000 happy customers. Ahuja Residency was recognized as one of the India's top 100 SMEs for the year 2012 and 13 by Indian SME Forum, and also as the best micro enterprise in the hospitality sector in India at the DNB. He cares for youth and held several positions at non-profit organizations CIA and YI, including at national management team. He also chaired 2 of the YI's largest events in India, Take Pride and The Future. He also is a member of Young Presidents Organization and on the governing body of Delhi University College and on the management board of Guru Gobind Indraprastha University. Help me to welcome Jaideep Ahuja, Managing Director and CEO of Ahuja Residency. Hi Jaideep, how are you doing?
Hi Rajesh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your show. Looking forward to this.
Thank you so much also for taking time in the middle of the whole thing that's happening around, but bringing that positivity of your experience. So I just want to ask one very important thing, right? This is something which goes in most of the people's mind. You had a corporate career, and then, probably you, even before you started, you also must have got, your family business running. So what is the thought process that was, gone into your mind at that time to actually move from a corporate career to your family business?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rajesh. I believe that perhaps there is an entrepreneur hidden in all of us. It's just some of us who take the leap and some of us who keep thinking that one day I'm going to do this myself. The job at Accenture was great colleagues, a lot of intellectual rigor. But end of the day, you're a consultant. You're producing reports that somebody else has to implement. Your impact is dependent on other people, how they act on your report. And sometimes it can be quite frustrating. I actually got really lucky. This is the time of 9/11 in 2001. Consulting firms ran out of jobs. So we went through a whole series of layoffs. Despite the layoffs, we still felt that we had too many people and not enough work. So Accenture offered a very interesting sabbatical scheme. They asked their employees all over the world that you can take a year off, get 20% of your pay, keep your laptop, just don't come into office. Don't work. A year later, you can join us at the same position where you left. So across the world, a lot of people pursued photography, went and climbed Everest, joined NGOs, took this as a great... In India, it was sort of taboo. I still have to convince people that I was not fired from Accenture, but that's 20 years gone by now. So at that time, my mother was running a small bed and breakfast business out of the kitchen of our house. I had that hidden entrepreneur in me. I said, look, I'm never going to get a better opportunity than this. If I fail, I quickly go back to my cushy corporate job and leave it at that. But let's give it a shot. I looked at areas where I would have some capabilities, where I had some advantages, and I saw that what my mother was doing was very interesting. There was a lot of need for budget accommodation, for extended stays accommodation, which was not being served. So decided, let me give this a try. Let me see if I can scale this up. So took the leave of absence from Accenture, set up this business, and actually then never went back to Accenture. A year later, put in my resignation, and I've been a full-time entrepreneur since then.
Wow. I mean, this is a blessing in disguise. So, so this is very interesting, actually. Yeah, I mean, one thing that you said is really very important is entrepreneur is hidden in literally every one of us. The flair is there, but it takes a lot of courage to really take that step forward. And luckily, the situation has given you the platform. But I would say, on one side is the opportunity, but the main important thing is you grabbed it, but then you jumped into it, right? Now, let me ask this question. This is again definitely is there in the young generation's mind most of the time. Is it important that you start your career, probably in a corporate career for some few years, just to get hold of things and then jump into the entrepreneurship, because that's the way that you took it, right? Or is it okay to kind of just directly jump into the entrepreneurship right after the studies?
That's the interesting question. I felt that having had a corporate job taught me a lot. Global firms, they, for example, really know how to look after their employees. And in consulting, the employees are your product. You are not making any product. So the way employees are treated, their policies, the way these firms are run is an eye-opener. And, in all the years, I've aspired to run my company and look after my people the way I saw, the McKinseys and BCGs and Accentures and all these companies would do. So I think there is a lot of learning. I encourage a lot of people, especially who want to get into family businesses, that please do a job first. Otherwise, you will effectively become the clone of your father or whoever's running that family business. You have no outside experience. You've only seen things the way they've been traditionally done in your business. I don't think you'll be able to sort of grow it. So that outside experience working for a well-known, well-run company definitely helps. But on the entrepreneurship bit, Rajesh, you would have seen some of the best entrepreneurs in the world are dropouts here. Yeah. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg in my industry now, Ritesh Agarwal, Bill Gates, etc. They just dropped out of college and went straight, founded a firm, and are billionaires today. Yeah? So maybe there isn't a right answer. Both seem to work quite well, and there are very, very inspiring stories of people who become entrepreneurs in very late stages of their career. Again, in my industry, there's Leela Hotels, Captain Nair. I think he became an entrepreneur at 65 years of age. And I see so many, Patu Keswani, who set up Lemon Tree Hotels, had a great corporate job with A.T. Kearney and Taj Hotels, at the right at the top, gave that up, set up, and is a brilliant success right now. So no right answer, I would say, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is brilliant. Actually, in a way, what you said is you threw some examples in both sides. It all depends on the state of mind, probably at that time, whether they're really ready to jump into it and start all by themselves, or probably they would like to take the advantage of all the corporate career setup where they learn things and get into it. But
I guess Rajesh, sometimes you have an idea that just can't wait. You could be in college, you could be anywhere. You believe the time is now, and if you go do a corporate career for a few years, somebody will take that idea away. So jump into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a very most common thing in most of the entrepreneur cases, right? Where you see something in the market and you feel, man, this feature to this particular electronic product can make a massive difference. And then, you do nothing. Within the next 6 months or 1 year, the new feature comes in. But the guy who has the idea, he's lost. He's lost into, whatever career they got into. Yeah, you're right. Some ideas cannot wait.
And Rajesh, honestly, ideas are a dime a dozen. It's execution that matters. We all have great ideas and we see others do it and say, I thought of this so long back. We all execute.
Absolutely. I mean, that brings me to the very important aspect of execution. now that you became an entrepreneur in 2002, what were the most of the time in the initial first 1-2 years people give up. So did you have any such instances where you felt, man, why did I even start this, right? I'm really very happy with the cushy corporate. Did you ever had such situation, or how did you overcome?
No, absolutely. You have this all the time. Sometimes being a leader can be lonely. You don't have people you can talk to, which you would have in these corporate jobs sometimes. When you're used to flying on clients' expense and business class and secretaries and things like that, and you become an entrepreneur and you're doing your own ticketing and all you're trying to do is find the cheapest fare to get to a place regardless of what time it is. You're not looking at convenience. Your whole perspective changes, and you have to be ready for that shift. And then different businesses take different times to succeed. I mean, I'll give you an example. My deep cleaning business, till the pandemic, I started this maybe 6-7 years back. The business was a failure, and I was on the verge of actually giving up and saying, I think the country is not ready for this yet, and it was too early. And the pandemic then came about, and suddenly cleaning and sanitization and things like that became super important. You just mentioned to me before we started how you had your house sanitized. It's a very important service which probably didn't exist a year back. So now sometimes you just need to be patient. You need to pivot a business. You set it up with something in mind, but you develop some skill sets, some competencies which can be used elsewhere. The market moves. You need to be agile, and sometimes you need to be patient. So entrepreneurship can be very frustrating at times. A lot of people think that corporate jobs are tough. You have a boss, and once you become an entrepreneur, hey, you are the boss. I tell them, no, you're not the boss. If you're an entrepreneur, your suppliers are your bosses, the customers are your bosses, the government is your bosses, everybody is your boss, everybody is sitting on top of you, you're weighed down by everyone. But it's the most exciting space to be.
I would like to actually pick your brains on that. See, I know that, many of the time on this show, we speak a lot about the challenges, right? I want to know what is that exciting thing that you find, when you get into your, the chair of the managing director, right? What is the exciting thing that, that puts you back into the seat in the next day?
I think creating jobs is the number one. And the fact that, I can say that there are maybe hundreds of families that are supported, maybe, because of the work that we do. I also believe that, businesses, while they can be much maligned, and, in our country earlier, businessmen were all looked at as crooks and, tax thieves. And, it was, you couldn't be very proud to say you were a businessman. That was the lowest. But I believe that's changing. And, a lot of great businessmen, you look at the Tatas, you look at Mahindras and all, they're changing the image of what business can do. And, I think business, which was a very narrow perspective, that it existed only to enrich the shareholders or the owner. That was the sole goal of the business, that how do we make more money? That whole definition is changed. And now there are so many stakeholders. What are you doing for society, for the community around you, for your suppliers, for your customers? I almost look at it as nation building. We have a lot of expats who stay with us. If we can provide them a great experience, I think it improves the image they have of our country. So maybe this is really far-fetched, but I think I'm doing my bit on nation building just by providing great services to people who've invested their time and money into India. So it's very, very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I see that excitement is really in every single direction that you say. Fulfillment is there in terms of employment, in terms of the customers, in terms of the nation building. This is really brilliant. But let me put it in a slightly in a different perspective for the younger generation, right? When when they start, most of the time they only think about the kind of huge burden they have there in mind, right? But then what kind of stakeholder management, especially at that time, when I'm talking about really, I mean, stakeholder is almost important. Like you said about supplier is the boss. I mean, everybody is a boss when somebody is doing a startup. So what kind of thinking process they should carry at that time to, cross the line of, that especially the first threshold of at least 3 years, right? What kind of mindset they should carry?
So, Raja, I think a couple of things. Well, one thing that has changed over time, and we talk a lot about it, is that, failure is now a badge of honor. I know people who tell me in Silicon Valley that they will hire based on seeing that people must have failed, because they believe if you've never failed, you never tried. You're not a risk taker. We don't want you. If you failed 3, 4, 5 times, great. I mean, if you see in our country, I would see people with gaps on their CVs, and I'd ask them that, 1 year there is a gap, and very sheepishly they'd say, no sir, in that year I tried to open my restaurant, but it didn't do well. I opened a shop and it didn't do well. And I tell them, hey, highlight it. It doesn't matter that it didn't do well. Nobody succeeds on their first attempt. It's just that you tried something, and the fact that you have some experience in running a business is very valuable to me, because then maybe you can think like a business owner. And I think, what really drives young entrepreneurs and all is purpose. And that's something we are trying to incorporate in older companies, that what makes us unique? What will the world lose if your company it doesn't exist anymore? How are you differentiating from what you are doing? And I find the millennials are actually far, far better. I mean, the way nowadays the new age companies treat employees, the whole atmosphere, it's amazing. And for a lot of us who are now in older companies, how to incorporate the energy and passion and openness of startups is the challenge for us, because you don't want to become old bureaucratic organizations, where everything takes forever. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered, but we can chat more on this.
I think you mentioned very important point about the millennials and their role on how they can actually kind of drive their entrepreneurial journey. I mean, I think I want to share one of the experience here is, I think before last year, just before the pandemic has happened, I have addressed in several universities, more than 5,000 students. And when I was asking a question, I was asking every single college or the university, hey, how many of you really want to be an entrepreneur? And to my shock, altogether out of 5,000 students, I've seen only 3 people raising their hand. Then I asked the other people, hey, okay, let me ask this question. How many of you want to have a good job? Everybody raises their hand. Then I said, in this country, in Andhra Pradesh state alone, there are more than 2 lakh engineers out there. Do you want to be, who have the certificates in hand, but they don't have job? You want to become 2 lakh 5,000, or you think like the rest of the people, and then you become those 5,000 people who can employ these 2 lakh people. And you're thinking, because the moment you mentioned it, it stuck in my mind. It's very important for the millennials to think in the step of, can I generate an employment? Because there are so many people out there who are sitting there who don't have jobs, but who have all the degrees. And again, the cultural point of view that you said is, I think we should not care about failure, as one of the negative aspect, especially at that age. But yeah, this is a very, very important point that you made here. But let me ask this, right? Once you are already in the entrepreneurial journey, I've seen that, you have been selected as one of the top 100 SMEs. Can you tell me what is that one reason that you think that they have selected your organization to become one of the top SMEs?
I wish I knew I'd be doing more of it. Yeah. No, I think our organization runs with, certain values and principles, and we are a long-term play. So, we are not here to make short-term gains and try to get rich quick and things like that, which I find happens very, very, very frequently. For us, all our stakeholders matter. We want our vendors paid on time. I believe my job primarily is to make sure that my employees are well looked after, and then I can be pretty sure that they will look after my customers. In our high touch kind of business, I can almost walk into an establishment and gauge how they are just by seeing how people in the front of the house are. You walk into a hotel, you see a front office guy with a sullen face, disinterested, he's probably not being treated well, and that energy percolates to you. And you go somewhere, to a restaurant, to anywhere, people are energetic, they are welcoming, they want to create a sale, they want to help you. And it makes me think, hey, obviously the organization is doing something right. that this person is so driven and motivated and helpful, and I look forward to working here or staying there or something like that. So I think the key for us, I keep telling people, stop trying to manage me. Too many times people try to manage their bosses and think that, look, if I keep my boss happy, that's all that matters. I said, boss is only happy if the customers are happy. If on TripAdvisor, I see that we are consistently getting great ratings, I don't care how you behave with me. If I sit for lunch and you don't feed me for 1 hour, doesn't matter. Don't you dare do it with a customer. So as long as I think that absolute focus of the organization remains on the customer and on employees, which are like our internal customers, because you can't have dissatisfied employees and hope to have happy customers. That's where our focus has been, and I think that's what's really helped us and grow to whatever little extent that we have.
Sure, for sure. I think customer is God. That has been there for ages. It is just that maybe I think it took a little bit of diversion in recent times, but the results will naturally put you back into the focus that, customer is the only God that you need to really focus on. I can see that it's there in the entire DNA of your organization. If at all, if the new generation is looking forward to enter into this industry, are there any barriers, or where can they actually kind of start, probably in terms of technology or as a startup?
Rajesh, unfortunately, mine is not the industry to get into as of right now. It's perhaps I'm wondering how long I will remain unemployed. The pandemic has hit hospitality extremely hard, and a company like ours, which is focused on business travel, has been exceptionally badly hit. Leisure travel is still done well because people want to get out and holiday, and they're fed up of being at their homes. And I'm sure once these lockdowns are over, people will go again. But businesses are, of course, far more careful when they sort of start traveling again. So I think the grass is greener on the leisure property side. If you look at the recent real successes in our business, Airbnb has been a great success. People renting out their homes, and lots of us, when we travel now, would love to stay in an apartment. Somebody central, local. I'm sure you've done it. I know you're a globetrotter. So listing properties on Airbnb. Oyo, of course, again set up by a 19-year-old college dropout, has been a huge success in the industry, and he's shown how using technology, you can really scale up far faster than possible. I mean, the Taj might have taken 100 years to do 100 hotels. Oyo probably does them in a day. But as of right now, the scope in hospitality is limited. Probably people are looking at occupancies coming back in 2023, 2024. But for leisure properties, people wanting to go to the hills, people wanting to go to the mountains, people wanting solitude, things like that, quaint homes, cottages, villas. People don't want to be where there are a lot of people. So that model is changing, of having one big hotel with hundreds of rooms. You don't want to go there. You want to go with your family, with a couple of friends, take a few cottages, be in the open. So I think there's a lot of scope in that area, right?
As you said, one thing I really kind of got inspired the way that you manage your business is your adaptability. The way that you brought in, like we were talking the other day, right? So how you adapted from the complete hospitality into the deep cleaning, or how you're still contributing to the country, right? In a way, whatever we do, it really doesn't matter. Because for me, as I've been always mentioning on the show, entrepreneurs are heroes of the society. They have the power to change anything and everything, because they're not just investing their own time, but they're also investing money, but they're making sure that the solution works all the way till, the result comes. So the way that you have adapted is really amazing. And I'm sure there are so many other youngsters are going to look up to, and then, start, adapting when something like this happens in their entrepreneurial journey. But
right, let me give you one more example if you have time. Yeah. So currently all our properties almost are converted into COVID isolation centers, and they've been packed out all through. And I was talking about looking after employees and things like that. Why don't others do it? Because employees are too scared to go and work in these places. Who wants to sit in a front office or do housekeeping or maintenance or cook food in a property where you have only COVID positive people? I am so proud, not one person from our team has refused. Our entire teams are working. There are 6 of these centers operating. They are right there. they feel they are doing their bit for society, they're doing their bit to help the company survive these tough times. And we've had the highest occupancies we've ever had. It's no way ever to make money, and I look forward to the occupancies dropping and us being empty. But we adapted very quickly, and it was all thanks to the team and the boys in front who have the courage to go do this. So it's been amazing, and I'm so grateful to our team for, I'm still sitting at the back. I'm not up there. The people who are doing this is just amazing.
Big kudos to you and your team, Jaideep. I know we were supposed to connect a month back, but I know how busy you are trying to manage all these properties where COVID patients are being really treated, and especially with the situation so serious in Delhi. So I want to say a big kudos to you and the kind of efforts that you're keeping in, continuously contributing to resolve the situation right now. But before we conclude this conversation, I just want to ask one question, right? You have really grew in ranks in young Indians. How important it is for the next generation? Is it just like any typical charity, non-profit organization, or is it something, it has a flair where this, the young generation or the entrepreneurs can come in and, get into something more vibrant?
So Rajesh, I've been in YI so long. I love YI. It's now like a part of me. Unfortunately, it's my last year in YI this year. But I believe it's a very, very unique organization. It does a lot of what an NGO does, but while most NGOs are focused on doing one thing, YI does several projects, so you can choose what interests you. You can also set up your own thing. Some of our projects, we did a project called Horn Not Okay Please many years ago, was set up by somebody sitting in a cafe in South India and finding that, hey, people just honk too much on red lights. Can we do something about it? It became a national project. Our gift and organs, somebody in Coimbatore saw we're not donating enough organs, became a national project. So it gives all of us across the country who have a little idea or would like to do something to make it into a national thing. And while, of course, nation building, giving back, all that is great in YI, it also helps you grow tremendously as a leader. Working in these peer organizations is so much tougher than leading your own business, where you can be the boss, you can fire people, you can stop their increments. But being a leader in YI, where everybody is the same like you, and they are working because of the trust and the faith they have in you, is amazing. And you mentioned that I was involved with two of the largest events that YI has done. Those have been the greatest learning experiences of my life. And I think the amount they have taught me of how to work with people across the country, how to deal with limited resources, how to try to get the best, has really helped me in life and in my own business. So I think YI is just like a complete package. You give and you gain, but you have to give to be able to gain. You cannot sit on the sidelines and hope for the YI magic to come in and change. No, you need to take the first step, get involved, and trust me, you will reap far more benefits than the efforts you put in.
Wow. Yeah, that is really exciting. I think if you have not yet been part of either YI or UA, this is a beautiful time to be part of. YI actually gets involved in most of the social activities which are very active. So if anybody is interested, maybe I'm going to leave a link on how you can join into YI within your local chapter. You can just click there and get connected. Or maybe you can leave a message to me on the comments so that probably I can connect you with the respective chapter. But otherwise, if you're not yet subscribed, I want you to go ahead and subscribe right now and share with every single person out there about this message where it can impact their entrepreneurial journey. But otherwise, I'm going to meet you with another amazing entrepreneur next week. But for now, in this video, we are going to say me and Jaideep, we want to say a big thanks for tuning in and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh.